November 7th?
9th.
9th, I'm sorry. The 7th is on my mind. Meeting to order, Andrea?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, reports of supervisor and council members. I just have a few things of correspondence. There was a misunderstanding last meeting. We were questioned about a truck that was purchased, a Freightliner truck, and where the money came from, and there was a lease purchase, and all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to read how we came about. So, let's see, I spoke to Patty about it. Superintendent Wisman, this was from Ryan Cortine to Mr. Wisman, February 1st, 2016 at 9:42 a.m. In processing the vouchers, there is one in the amount of $193,566 to Mohawk Valley Freightliner for a truck with a plow with a wing, controls, etc. The voucher lists as fund appropriation D5130.2, but the 2015 amount I see is $1,280, and the 2016 amount is $60,244. So he asks Mr. Wisman about this. Mr. Wisman answers him, I spoke to Patty about it. That was for last year's budget. I'm pretty sure that Lizette did a lease purchase for that. Then Ryan comes back, I left you a message. Please let me know if you have any details regarding the lease purchase. We haven't found anything here about it yet. Richie comes back and he says, I just talked to Steve Frazier. He said it was a bond. So that's how we came about that it was a bond. We took the word of Mr. Frazier.
Actually, it
Mr.
wasn't my
Wisman.
words. I was misquoted by Mr. Wisman.
Okay, so that's how we came about using the bond money.
I also, and if you
Excuse
read down
me, I'm
further.
not finished.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Still at it.
I need to make an announcement. The recycling center is closed on Saturday in honor of Veterans Day. And I'd like to read a letter, a disturbing letter from a resident. Dear Town of Unionville Town Supervisor and Board members, it has come to my attention that there is discussion on Facebook about my appointment to the Town Ethics Committee. While I find it disheartening that this issue was not brought to me directly, I can understand why a perceived conflict of interest exists. It was my intent in volunteering for this position to be involved in the town in a neutral, apolitical role. I am confident that I could provide unbiased assessment of ethical issues that arise. However, in light of the recent postings on Facebook alluded to some ulterior motive on my part, I feel the best thing to do is resign from the Ethics Committee. I hope you can find suitable candidate to take my spot and balance out the member panel. Having a well-rounded and respected Ethics Committee is essential to its purpose and function. Also, as a healthcare provider serving a vulnerable population, I respectfully request that any members associated with the Town of Unionville Republican Committee Facebook page encourage immediate removal of my name from the recent post. Associating my name with divisive political posts has the potential to disrupt care and harm to patient therapeutic process. Sincerely, Dawn R. Tree. I think that the Facebook and all of that nonsense is just getting out of control. I'm glad it's over, and I just hope there are no more vicious attacks on people like this. John?
Okay, first of all, I want to thank everyone that went out and voted. It's great that we had a good turnout this year. It's always encouraging when residents are getting more interested in the government process. And really, our form of government, it's critical that we have voters and we have candidates, and it's great that we had opposition. I thank everybody that ran for any office, and I hope people will continue to run for office and keep the democratic process running smoothly. On a separate note, I reviewed a lot of correspondence from the Dutchess County Transportation Council this past week. They had a ballot they sent to our supervisor, which her and I reviewed, and it's basically they wanted the town to approve the endorsement of performance management targets for Dutchess County Public Transportation and Metropolitan Transportation Authority. This is performance requirements for maintenance of equipment in order to get federal money, federal grant money. So very nicely, the supervisor voted for it, and Unionville is supporting this effort to help get more federal money for transportation in the county.
Thanks, John. Karina?
Well, hopefully Dave went as well, but I went to that webinar that I had said I would go to last meeting, the Appropriated Fund Balance webinar. And again, I'm very grateful for the comptroller, that our current comptroller is very, not only is interested in the auditing process, but is interested in offering lots of free educational opportunities for town board members so we can be more informed. And I found the Appropriated Fund Balance webinar so incredibly informative. It is a very complicated task, and I look forward, especially in creating that 5-year plan, to really get an appropriated fund balance going and in a legal manner in the appropriate accounts in the future.
Dave?
Yes, I did take that webinar. I also took another webinar on, clean energy communities. There was a meeting at Cornell Cooperative that I was going to go to, but I was up in Albany instead at the time, and I couldn't make that. That was on communities moving forward again with clean energy. I'd like to congratulate John and Steve and Betsy, on their election.
And Andrea.
And Andrea, yes. Can't forget Andrea. That's right. Can't forget Andrea. I think that's all I have at this time. I wasn't expecting this tonight.
Steve?
Want to echo John's sentiments about the election and thank the residents for their support. Going back to that email you just read, further down in that email, there was a response from me. I sent Ryan my phone number and requested that he call me so I could clarify what was supposed to happen with that truck. And he neglected to do so, and that's how we ended up where we are.
I did not receive that email.
Well, it's in there.
Is that it? That's all you have?
That's all I have.
Okay. Public comments on agenda items?
I do not have a report tonight, but I just wanted to be available right now. If there were any comments or any concerns about our budget line items, I did send all town board members, including Patty and Andrea and Ryan, a rundown of some of the comments that I had after that budget was talked about, and I wanted to really just basically clarify some of the lines and make sure I would like to be as transparent as possible, open to further communication before the budget is adopted, and I also want you to know that I know that this is a working document. I understand that some of the items will not kind of be worked out in our favor as we expect them to be, but we're okay with that, as long as we do have that communication and some compromise. So, if there are any comments on the communication that I sent to you, please feel free to ask. And then one more thing is the financial statements that we keep down at the park, and I wanted you to be able to see that because in the last board meeting, there were some questions about concession stand revenue and a couple other items, so I wanted you to have that in your hands.
Okay, I just want to comment on your memo about the position for Recreation Secretary. Yeah, I understand Betty Albrecht is not planning on leaving us and that we want to shift her to being, focusing more on the Equestrian Center and that we should put in $3,255 for her for next year because she can be more effective, focused on the Equestrian Center, which still brings in a fair amount of revenue to the town.
Absolutely. And the Equestrian Center is something that Betty and I discuss a lot because I think it's a really beautiful and important asset to our surrounding community. So we want to try and grow it as much as possible. And as you can see in the, just kind of the information that I gave you as back matter, that combining her two positions, I mean, she's obviously not in it for the money. She really enjoys what she does for us in Unionville, and she's been doing that for years and years. So combining those two positions actually saves over $2,000. So, you know, I just thought that was a good fiscal move and a better way to use her appropriately.
Yeah, no, I commend you on your plan, and I think it's a good one. The Equestrian Center does very well financially, and I hate to see what happened to the ballpark revenue happen to the Equestrian Center, where we kind of lost out on getting any revenue out of the ball fields. So I'm glad you're focused on it and continue that revenue stream.
Yeah. And to comment on the field revenue, we did see a decline in the past, but as we move forward, I mean, Beekman uses it, the youth soccer, the adult soccer. If you're out here on the weekends, it's really just packed and full. So I think in the future reports, you're going to see that revenue be more consistent and grow. So
And they added a soccer field
we
this
did.
year. So.
We did because we had a lot
But I
of
mean, we
interest.
lost out on all the baseball revenue.
Yeah, women's softball did use it this
We're getting
summer,
it back.
and and they even utilized Godfrey Park at times too. So it was
Yeah.
really nice to see.
I think I'm not entirely understanding the seasonal secretary because if I read her report to us correctly, taking out her stipend, the profit was $400. But we're not really saving $2,000 if we're giving her more money to go there since it only got $400. It would only make sense to give her the $400 profit.
In the big picture, it saves $2,000 in that one budget line if you're just focused on the Equestrian Center line. You know, the Equestrian Center doesn't make tons of money. It breaks even, and that's really the goal, to provide that service. So just in the bigger picture, when we scooted over that seasonal secretary, it may look like, you know, we're losing money in that equestrian line, but you know, with all of the rec revenue, it will really balance out. And I'm curious to see what doing that will either improve or keep neutral, or we'll just have to see. So I would appreciate just supporting that idea and seeing if it does make a little bit of a positive impact.
Okay.
You were talking about the concession stand, and you're showing a revenue this year of $20,040. But you're budgeting $31,017.
In
Is
this
your
year's
request.
budget or last?
This year's budget. I mean, that's an $11,000 loss that you're starting with. I mean, why?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look at exactly what the final department request was and look at the reasoning behind that. I would like to see everything break even, so we're obviously not losing money. That's the goal.
You know, the department request was for, altogether for the concession stand, $33,017, and then we proposed $31,17, but that's still $11,000 that we're losing.
The way that I see it and the way it was discussed with Ryan too, is that also includes the personnel, is that correct?
That includes the personnel
Everything.
too.
And the concession stand is kind of a shared service with the summer camps and all of that. And in our mind, we think of the concession stand staff, like pool staff, is shared with the summer camp. So with the revenue that the summer camp makes, it accounts for a little portion of that.
Same with the pool, because without
Well,
a pool,
yeah,
we
I
wouldn't
mean-
have a summer camp, so you can't really isolate one aspect and say that has to stand alone financially.
But again,
It
the
all works
pool,
together.
the pool is operating at a $58,000 loss.
Mhm.
Now, part of that has to go to the recreation, because without the pool, we wouldn't
Right.
have the recreation
Right, we wouldn't
programs
have
that
camp.
we've got. But if you add in, a $10,000 loss on the concession stand, and even saying half the loss on the $30,000 on the pool, that just about takes care of all the profit that you've made in the camp. So maybe we're breaking even,
Mhm.
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems a little bit high to me. I just wanted to bring that up. I mean,
Okay.
have we considered, I know LaGrange, right now, they've, for their baseball, and they're looking at it for their pool, renting out the facility to a concessionaire, and then you're getting money in, period. And any losses are theirs, not ours.
We have done that.
Yeah, we've done that and it
Yep.
hasn't worked out.
No. I mean, I can, if you come see me and have more of a conversation, we could really itemize some of the data from like the times that we did that, and crunch some more numbers.
I mean, I'm just going by what I've seen, especially with LaGrange, and like I say, LaGrange is expanding theirs now because they found out that, yes, having people there, and they actually had people there that were volunteers, that they're making more money by just renting out the facility, but they're getting the rent in advance. Everything else is his problem.
Well, call
That's
them
all I wanted to bring up.
volunteers. Come see me.
That's all I had.
Any other comments?
I had some questions about like the passenger van. So you gave us two options. You really said you want us to lease one. But really, going forward, if we wanted to see if this is successful, $10,000 gets us a bus, a driver, and liability insurance. Because $15,000 is the lease. That doesn't include a driver, doesn't include liability.
What
So,
size van is it?
Really?
I believe it's 17 passenger.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that gets involved once you exceed 8 passengers. I'm in that industry,
Yeah.
you're aware of. There are a lot of things that happen once you exceed 8 passengers,
And yeah, who would
That
be
gets
driving,
pretty
who would
costly
be driving
and-
it?
Any licensed.
See, that's an
They would
issue.
have to have a
Yeah.
CDL
That's an
license,
issue, I
yeah.
think.
And again, these are things that
Liability
I
is-
wanted to bring to the
Right.
table to discuss.
It's a lot of
Obviously, I'm not,
responsibility.
I'm not expecting all of these pie in the sky visions for our
Right.
rec department, but I wanted to just open that discussion, see if, what the town board thinks. Using First Student or another company to do that kind of trial run for a year, that might be an option for us. It depends on what you want and what you want to see for the town. I just have been racking my brain for even years now, thinking of how to include those Unionville residents who are in that Millbrook School District. So if you have any great ideas, come see me and I will be more than happy to talk them out with you.
Okay.
I mean, I think even as a town board member, I'm not open to those students. Like, I know some of those students, but, I would want, to know we have, 15 committed kids to coming. Like, parents are willing to put it on a deposit. Because if we end up with 5 kids, $2,000 a kid, we're really asking the town to subsidize somebody's childcare. And I've used childcare up until recently. So I would never ask anyone to pay for my kids' childcare. So I think that that's really kind of
Yes.
a sticky issue.
Yeah.
So I think it's something to consider in the future, but we may not be there without a commitment from those families
Right.
yet.
And what
Maybe
about the
that's something-
homeschoolers?
What about the
do you mean?
homeschoolers?
I mean, if we're gonna bus people in from
Well,
the Millbrook School District, why wouldn't we have to go and also pick up the kids that are homeschooled? They live
Well,
in this
that's a-
town also.
Yeah, that's a completely different dynamic. I think they love homeschool for the very reason that they don't have to stick to a schedule and they
Yeah.
can make their own schedule.
Right,
And
but if they wanna come to camp
For the
and
social
everyone else
aspect.
is getting
Yeah.
bused here, why shouldn't
Right,
they?
can't-
well, that's not
Disqualify
for,
them.
Disqualify them, Rachel,
well, it's not for camp. It's not for camp. That was
or
just
for
during.
whatever.
I mean, I know it's
Absolutely
recreation,
more than
social,
welcome
but
to come.
probably they need it more than anybody.
And we do events for the homeschoolers. We're going on our 4th year of the Takeover Time War Park Day, where the local homeschoolers come and enjoy a social field day kind of experience, and it's really great. We have some wonderful feedback, and, you know, it's a good time for everyone. Homeschoolers, they're more than welcome to come to our after-school program. They're more than welcome to join us for summer camp. We don't provide any transportation, picking up or dropping off for summer camp. That's just all up to every individual family, so.
and just about the bus again, like you had a great idea to use it for the seniors on their trip, but there's more than 17 seniors
Oh, yes.
that go on a trip,
It
right?
was-
So we wouldn't be using it for that. We'd still
Smaller
have to rent
trips.
from JTR. or
They have their
something.
own transportation
Right. Well,
at
I
the
mean,
fountains.
well, but that would mean only 17 people going from Timor, and there's more than that, because they usually fill a large bus.
Yes, the last trip they just had, they had about 37
Yeah. So we
seniors,
really
adults.
wouldn't.
So,
use
yeah,
it.
we
Yeah,
would
but
use-
just let's say we had it, you could do smaller satellite trips, more local trips, and you wouldn't have to get a large bus for over $1,000 for an outing. An outing with 15 people could potentially work.
Well, it's something to think about.
I had a question about the kids camp director. So just to clarify, it's a director, it's not an additional director, you just want a director for 8 weeks instead of
Correct.
4 weeks?
Correct.
You're not like doubling it
No.
for person, it's for time?
Correct.
Okay,
We only need one.
okay, okay.
And we would like to see the expansion from the 4-week program to the 8-week program to sync up with our session 1, session 2, session 3, and session 4. Because parents have kids of multiple
Various.
age groups, and it makes it really hard when their
Yeah.
school-age kids can come, and then the little ones are
Yeah.
left out for the first 2 weeks and last 2 weeks, so.
Okay. And as far as the low ropes course, do you have that quote from our insurance company? You said that you looked into liability insurance, so do
So
you
with-
have the quote
With
from them?
NYMER, I do not yet, but there is separate insurance that comes with the whole package from these companies, and they work together with municipal insurance to communicate. But I do have that quote with me if you would like to look at it a little more in depth from two Project Adventure and High Five that do this for a living. So those would be, you wouldn't want to make something like that on your own because it doesn't come with that insurance already from the ground up. So I do have those if you want to look at them.
Yeah, I think I would want to know that NYMER is in agreement that
Yes.
they would participate. Because it's not so much I'm worried about when you can have supervision. It's that 2 years I've been on the town board, I hear a lot about the nonsense that happens in the park that we continually try and deal with, and any, people being there when they're not supposed to, or vandalism, or drinking, or pot smoking, or whatever else they're doing there.
Sometimes they come to the
And-
park to do that.
Yeah, but now if we have ropes course, we're sort of like inviting more trouble.
I hear you. That could
Yeah.
be another discussion.
Yeah, it's a concern.
It would
Yeah.
concern me
Yeah.
just based
Attractive
upon,
nuisance.
we can't staff it 24/7 for somebody to be watching it, for somebody to not do something they shouldn't do.
Right. I think no matter what, people will be doing that. So
Right, which is
it's
why
just-
we shouldn't attract more. Right? I
Right.
mean, if we can somehow fence it off, but that would make it
a whole
sort of
other
like.
expense, and then
And it sort of takes away Timer Park. It sort of takes away the beauty of why would we want some big fenced-in thing.
Yeah.
right.
It's a dilemma, it is.
So regardless, you know, those are just some of the ideas and further information behind some of those line items, because I didn't want anyone to leave confused or what in the world is this. So there you have it. And if there's
Okay.
anything else you need to discuss with me on a more private level, feel free, and I'm here for the duration of the meeting, so.
Very good.
I actually really appreciate the way that you put this together, and I think probably going forward as a town board, we should ask when all the budget goes through, because I love that you just like gave a line and sort of gave us your synopsis, so we didn't have to go through Ryan and Patty and back to us and how things, so I actually
Right.
would love to see this from every single department next year, like at least a synopsis
Right.
of what the numbers are, because I thought it was really well done.
Agreed.
Thank you. It was very clear.
Yeah, we understand your thought process. It's
Yeah,
very- very
I
efficient.
really, I know, I really appreciated, I mean, this was a long
Thank you.
effort, so I appreciate all that you put into it.
Thank you.
So if we can.
And there's
like-
other like municipalities and stuff that put together a budget booklet or something.
Yeah.
That
I've seen that.
communicates that well, so. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll be around.
Hello, my name is Betsy Moss. I live on Clove Road. Comments on agenda items, I just wanted to mention a couple things. We weren't going to bring it up, but since you did, the $194,000 was mentioned. It was my question at the last board meeting, so I think I should clarify. It wasn't mentioned because we were worried about who got what email and whether it was a lease purchase or a bond. The reason it was mentioned is because money was moved without town board approval. And when you get dumped on, that was dumped on your lap, and I recognize that. All of a sudden, a truck shows up and a bill arrives for $194,000. That's a big surprise. And what we looked at and noticed was that for your business advisor, who was Ryan Cortine, in 2012 in the town of Dover, in their audit, they had said, Ryan, please look to lease purchases in order to save your town cash. And given that he had been notified about that in his own audit in 2012, and given that you were surprised by this $194,000 getting dropped in your lap, you weren't expecting that truck, and given that we looked in the budget and it was a $47,000 budget line that Lizette and her board had prepared, which was just lease payments for 2 trucks, recognizing that you were surprised, wasn't fair to you, we were actually disappointed that your advisor hadn't prepared you better, and they still allowed money to be, he transferred the money from one account to another without telling the head of the department, and then you wrote a check for cash out of capital projects without a resolution, without letting anybody know, which is improper. It wasn't you personally, it wasn't him personally, these are bad management decisions, and it was dumped in your lap. It had nothing, it was more about Ryan Cortine not giving you good advice. It's not about lease bond, that's irrelevant. Transferring money without the town board knowing was the point. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, I have to applaud Dawn Tree. I think it's lovely that I'm sure she's eminently qualified. She sounds like a lovely person. She'd probably be great on the board. The Facebook post that was posted as a result of the fact that you have comments on agenda items, but when you say comments on agenda items, you're only allowed to talk about the agenda items, and in your agenda, you mentioned the ethics committee and you passed a resolution. You never listed whose names were on there, so nobody could therefore comment in advance. After you made that resolution with everybody's names being told publicly, there were no longer comments on agenda items, there were just comments on non-agenda items, so it cut off the discussion. Therefore, nowadays, my son tells me everybody goes to social media, and that posting that was made had to do with the fact that sponsored by Democrats, people on this board, 3 people approved a committee a new ethics board, which is extremely important, of 5, the standing committee, not the alternates, of 5 Democrats, or people that are sponsored by or associate with Democrats. So therefore, the town is going to be suspicious of this committee right from the get-go, and it makes it less effective. I want to just say I applaud Dawn Tree for resigning from that committee. She sounds like a lovely person. I haven't met her, but I think the fact that she resigned, recognizing that it was a conflict of interest, it looked suspicious or wouldn't get broad-based support, is terrific. And, you know, at some point in the future, maybe she would consider coming back on that committee. Lastly, I would say that on your budget, if we're going to have that discussion tonight, I don't know if Ryan's coming to the meeting to present anything, but if there's a public hearing on that, I know it's really important. Apparently, the highway department's personnel was cut, not inconsistent with what the department had asked for and wants and needs. So I would ask you to respectfully consider putting that back in, given that the budget, the department head wants the personnel that he needs to get the job done. So I'd ask you to please consider doing that, all right? Thank you very much.
I would like to request, as the administrator of that page, that you remove Dawn Tree's name. As a nurse practitioner.
Excuse me, the Dawn Tree's name, if you've read the post, was removed the day that the gentleman on the board requested it.
I
Her
read
name
it
is not on
today.
that board. No, you didn't. Well, you may have
October
it.
20th. I read it today.
Today's not October 20th.
No.
And Dawn Tree's no longer there.
I read today.
It's not on
scrolled
there,
down.
Corinna. It's not on there.
Okay, I'll find it during the
Everybody,
meeting. Thank you.
If you want to be sure, go to the Unionville Republican Committee Facebook page and look for the page or the posting that was dated October 20th. There is nobody's name Dawn Tree on there. I believe what I was sent when I was permitted to look at it was Thomas Beiswinger's spouse. So take a look. It was removed out of respect and because the gentleman on the board requested it to be done, so it was done. But anyway, congratulations to Dawn Tree, and thank you for considering the highway department's
Okay,
budget.
read from my phone where it still says Dawn Tree,
Corinna,
Betsy.
You tell
Betsy,
Patty what to do, don't tell me what to do.
I'm not telling you what to do. This is very disrespectful. You can look at my phone right now and read her name clear as day. You just stood there and said it's not there. It says Brian Johnston, Dem. William Sadler, Dem. Dawn Tree, Democratic fundraiser, next door neighbor to William Sadler, wife of current Democratic town board candidate. You don't even say Thomas Beiswinger's name there. Dennis Biddy, Dem. Alternative members, Marnie Bast, Peter Baum.
Did Dawn Tree, when she wrote her letter to you, did she talk about, when did she write, what's the date of her letter?
I don't know why mine says
You read the letter, do you have a
1/2/17.
date for it?
1/2/17, mine
It can't
says.
be. It must be 10 something. I would have to go through my email, which is
Maybe
on
it's
my
11
phone.
to
When were
17?
these people put
Oh.
on this board? The
Yeah,
last meeting?
11
Last meeting.
to, 11 to
Okay,
17.
so I
That was,
also have a
the,
problem because
19th of October.
if nobody knew who was going to be on the board the last meeting, how did Mr. Welch read the letter bashing the Sadlers if no one knew who was
Who
going
was
to be on
bashing,
it?
I remember that meeting. I can't answer that question, I wasn't involved with it, I wasn't involved, I don't know that.
I don't think the letter was about the ethics board, though.
Yes, you
Yeah.
called them unethical because the
They
letter
shouldn't be
called
on
them
the ethics
unethical
committee
board,
because-
because they didn't apologize.
So
or
are you
something.
suggesting,
Yeah.
Patty, that you guys interviewed people for the ethics board and then kept that a secret? Is that what that
No,
means?
that's what you suggested.
No, you just
No.
asked how did people know when they wrote the Sadler letter?
No, you said that before.
You said-
How were we supposed to discuss it when no one
No, on
knew
your-
who was going to be on the ethics committee?
On October 19th. No, I
John
didn't
read a
say
letter
that.
knowing.
But that wasn't, I don't know how John, I wasn't part of that letter. On your agenda on October 19th, you always have comments for agenda items, and the ethics board resolution was on there, but nowhere on the agenda. I came in and just got the agenda. Nowhere on the agenda did you list the names of the people. I did know the names of the people.
Well, residents knew the name of the people, obviously.
Not all residents, I'm only
They
one.
got it.
Some people may
You
have,
didn't
I'm
know where
only
to look,
one.
maybe, I don't know.
Well, regardless, if you're going to have comments on agenda items and you want people to comment and you're going to name a group of people to be on a board, maybe you should list them if you want people to comment on it. It wasn't on there. I wasn't
So
aware.
you're saying
So you
that
could've stood up
anybody
and
who's
asked.
employed by the town's people should be able to make a decision, not the town board?
No, let me make it clear.
Didn't say that
So
at
that
all.
I didn't say that at all. What I said was, at the last town board meeting, you guys revealed the names in the middle of the meeting of the people that were going to be on an ethics board. On the comments on agenda items, which is prior to when you revealed the names, nobody knew who was going to be on the ethics board. Therefore, nobody was able to comment on who the people were. After the meeting is over, or towards the end of the conclusion of your regular business meeting, you have comments on non-agenda items. So nobody can comment on what you just went through with the ethics board because we were only allowed to comment on non-agenda items. Had you posted the names in the agenda that you were going to announce, or perhaps posted the resolution with their names included, you could have gotten some comments about the fact that there were 5 Democrats being put on an ethics board committee, but you didn't announce those names publicly. I didn't know who they were.
But the town board interviewed these people, and the town board...
That's irrelevant. The point is nobody knew.
But the town board decided that these people were going to be...
Okay, that's fine. But you asked for comments on agenda items, nobody could comment. Therefore, people commented on Facebook because they didn't have any other alternative. You didn't provide one in the meeting is the point. You interviewed and you picked them, that's fine. But there was no other way to talk about them, so it went to a different alternative.
Well, getting back to my point, please respectfully remove Dawn Tree's name. It is inappropriate and it risks her actual license. It's very serious. Please remove her name from the post. And don't say it's not there, because everyone can go home and see it. I just looked at it myself and read it out loud.
I think the confusion is there were 2 posts about it. I can't find it on your phone, but there were 2 posts about it, and I think the confusion is that there were definitely 2 posts, and I think you guys get the gist. It's better that these things be diversified so everybody, you get broad-based support, and that's that. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Everybody can go home and look. I don't know where the second post is or the first post because I'm not used to your phone.
Well, because there is still a post, please remove this post that I read out loud. Or at least remove her name.
Next.
Is this thing working?
Yes.
We hope so.
guess so.
Sounds
It's
good.
kind of far.
All right, I was an interviewee, Tillman, Shaughnessy Road, still.
Yes, you were in it.
I was an interviewee. Nobody on the board asked my political affiliation.
Not important.
I don't think, right, ethics should have nothing to do with political affiliation, in my view. So, does it matter?
No.
There weren't many people that even came.
Right, you had
And applied.
6 or 8 people,
Yeah.
9 people, 10, whatever. But John, you read a letter at the beginning of the meeting from Tana talking about, and
Who was
we
on the
hadn't
board,
even
so how
gotten
did
to
she
the
know?
ethics committee in the, what's this thing called?
The agenda.
The agenda, thank you. Don't get old, you're not going to like it. I've told you that before. So that opened Pandora's box, I think, that letter.
Okay.
Now, Betsy just said, you 3 are Democrats?
I'm not.
Republican,
I'm not.
Democrat, NOP,
NOP.
and a Republican. So where did the 3 Democrats come
Don't
from?
misquote, Elfrida. I said they were endorsed and sponsored by.
Well, I didn't hear that part. Again, I'm deaf, what can I say? I didn't hear that part. I just heard 3 Democrats. Political parties should have nothing to do with this.
No.
I don't think.
Or anything
Okay,
else.
that's it.
Yes?
Hi, I was going to speak about this later, but apparently it's been introduced, so I'm asking, may I speak about it now? It really has to do with printed material that is disseminated and the effect of that on the community. Betsy, I've never met you, but
She left.
I just wrote down what Betsy had said.
Oh, Ann McCabe.
I'm Ann McCabe, and I am affiliated with a Democrat. I am one, and I'm married.
Wait a minute, move this thing. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, how sturdy is that rope there? What are
Sturdy.
the
No,
things
well,
called?
she should.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, turn a little sideways. So the TV
That's
can
fine.
see you.
This is the one we don't.
So I had written down what Ms. Moss had said, and she said that 5 are Democrats or are associated with Democrats. Those were her words. And 3, excuse me, I apologize. 3 are associated with Democrats. Political parties are very necessary for our system of government. And I congratulate those who won, as I did on our Democratic website, because it's a victory for democracy. John, I think you put it very well.
Oh, thanks.
that every time there's an election and people turn out to vote, it wasn't a high turnout, which is not to put down your election. I believe it was somewhere in the 30s. It would be nice to see 99% of the town turn out. I think we both share that. But it was a victory for democracy. And I wish all the newly elected and re-elected well, because I live in this town, I love this town, I work hard for this town. I've gone door to door, and I want to congratulate all the nice Republicans who brought me into their home and sat down, some of whom agreed with me, some of whom didn't, but they were so gracious, and conservatives, and independents, and NOPs, and Democrats. But I really wanted to talk later about the social media issue. There is a post from the Democratic Committee and from the Republican Committee on Facebook.